Hello there. So today I'm going to talk about my dealings with the press. So we are going back a number of years ago because I haven't had dealings with them for a long time because I just got sick and tired of them. When I was in my 20s I used to do a lot of voluntary work and a lot of community work because I was on benefits then, usually in between marriages and I had young children. But while I was on benefits I thought, best thing that I can do is try and go to college and get some skills behind me and learn things. So I was always doing something and I did a lot of community work, and I also set up with my sister and a couple of friends a tenants and residents association. So we did a lot of stuff over the years in the community. So in my head I earned my benefits because the stuff that I did, like food co-ops and over 50s lunch clubs, fundraising, we did all sorts of stuff. But anyway, this is when I lost the plot with the press, because we're going back now to 1993 and I come from a council estate, and most council estates vote Labour. That's the done thing to do because you're taught that Labour support the working class, and we used to believe all that. I think I've voted twice in my whole life, and I remember this year something happened and it was nationwide and it was something to do with Labour, and I remember a lot of people on the estate saying, I'm not voting for them again. And so it was the first time I'd ever heard anyone say it, so I don't know what was going on. I should have looked up that. But there was definitely some kind of disharmony from the working class with the Labour at that time. And so when it came to the voting, I didn't vote that year, and nobody I knew voted. And I think it's because people were just disillusioned and thought, what's the point? However, some people, and it had only been a few people, voted for this new guy that came along, who was BNP, and that's British National Party, and they were known for being racist. Anyway, he won. And he won by a landslide because nobody else voted. So nobody would have ever voted for Conservative on a council estate back then. It was always Labour, and if there's no Labour there's nobody else, so what's the point? But this guy had gone around doing a campaign before the elections and got enough people to sign the ballot, and so he won. So what happened? Well, the first thing that happened is the press turned up, and it was all over the news and it was all over the papers, and it went absolutely crazy. Why did it go crazy? Because we already lived on a council estate. Suddenly it's these people on this council estate are all racist because they've all voted for BNP. I think there was probably only about 10 people voted and they were all his mates. But the rest of them, for whatever reason, decided we're not going to vote this year. So that's why he got in. It wasn't because everybody wanted them in. It was just how it worked. But what the press did was something really underhand. And this is one of the first times I saw the press for what they really are. And what they did is they sneaked onto the council estate in a van with the cameras, and they waited for the school children to come home from school. Now, we're talking junior age here, so these children would have all been between like 9 and 11 years old. And they're at the age where they can walk home because you live near the school. So what did they do? They went and parked the van near one of the eyesores on the estate, and this eyesore was basically land that used to have a pub on it, and it had been knocked down and they'd taken most of the bricks away, so it was like just a big space of concrete floor and it was full of weeds and broken glass and stuff like that. So it looked an eyesore, and everybody said it was an eyesore. So the press decided we're going to use this location here, not the woods that look nice or anywhere else that could have looked nice. They chose the worst place they could find on the estate, and they sat there. They waited for the children to come home from school, and then they got out of the van as the children were walking by, and they managed to collar, I think it were about 5 or 6 children, and they asked the children, do you want to go on TV? Well, of course, children of that age, oh, go on, tell it, yeah. Well, your mummy and daddy will be able to see you on TV. Well, they're thinking, oh, that'll be well fun. So what they did is they gave all the children a bottle each, like a milk bottle, and they said, when we tell you, what we want you to do is just throw the bottle onto the ground as hard as you can and run away. Can you do that? And they're all like, yeah, I can do that. And they went, right. So they timed it, and then obviously they filmed it. So these children all smashed the bottle on the ground and then ran home. Well, that night, 6 o'clock, calendar news comes on. And I think I don't know how many parents went mental on this one, but I know at least 3. And it were the children's parents, and they were sat watching TV. And suddenly their children are on the TV, throwing glass and running off. Well, of course, the parents went mad, because not all children are naughty, right? And they just happened to have got some children from good families just walking home from school, and they lured them into doing this. So their parents went absolutely ape, and next thing we know, everything just kicked off on the estate. Now, I didn't go to this meeting, but I know my sister went, and a load of other people, because it was packed. But the press turned up at the church, and they held a big meeting, and everybody went, and they were all going insane, because you've got to remember that there's people like me, my mum, my sister. There were a core group of people on that estate that used to do a hell of a lot of voluntary work there, and a lot of positive things. We did all kinds of stuff, like we took children on day trips with the tenants and residents group, and we got funding. We did all sorts, 6-week holidays, full entertainment for children, so the parents didn't have to do anything with them. We did all sorts for them. And that one article on the news and all through the papers completely undid years and years of hard work. And so you can imagine why everybody was so angry. Not to mention the fact that these really lovely children were told to do something naughty for the camera, thinking it was fun, and they were told to do it by adults. And so it all kicked off, and it got to a point where it was so bad that there was this big report done on the whole estate, and it got voted, I think it was in the top 20 worst places to live in the UK, all because of this one report. And so of course that put house prices down. People didn't want to come there. It went through a phase of people, even homeless people, didn't want to live there because they were scared, because the reputation was so bad, and they couldn't get people in the housing. And I don't know if this all tied in with all that, because I remember there being this period of time where they knocked a lot of houses down there. A lot of the council houses at the top end got demolished because nobody wanted to live there. So I don't know if that tied in with that, because it probably was maybe a few years away from that. But that's one of the times when I saw the press and I thought, you lie. And I wasn't really aware of that before then, and that made me think, did they lie on other news channels as well? You know, when you watch the news about things. Because we saw children who were normally well behaved getting lured into doing something they'd never do, and then it was put out there of like, look at them all, look at this. And so the reputation of the place just went to the dogs. And there was another incident as well that made me really think, you are just, oh, I just can't be doing with you reporters, it's horrible. And I had a job, and it was working with children on a children's centre, and I was the cleaner there afterwards. But it's the fact that I was around children at all, and I was working voluntary in we called it the Friday Lunch Club, and me and my friend were both cooking and washing up and stuff, and then the press came and said, we're just doing a little report on this, can we take your photograph? And I went, yeah, go on, because I was always in the paper all the time, because other people were camera shy and I didn't care, so I'm like, I'll do it. So I went like, right, so we had this photograph took. A couple of days later I was at work, and my boss called me and she said, can I have a word with you? And I said, yeah. And she said, are you alright? And I went, yeah. She went, are you sure? And I went, yeah, why? And she went, I need you in my office. So I went into her office, and she got the Courier out. Front page of the Courier, me and this lady holding a plate of food. Headline, 2 agoraphobics serve the community. It was something like that. And I thought, what the hell? And she went, you never told us that you had that. And I'm like, oh my God, I never told no one that. And she said, well, I'm sorry, Kelly, but it don't look good, does it? And I went, honestly, I didn't say it. I don't know where that's come from. And she said, are you all right around the children? And I was really upset with this one. Really upset, because it was like, that's my reputation there. That's like my mental health. And it was all over the press that I had this mental illness or whatever it is, this condition, which I did have a few years prior to that. But somebody told them that, which was completely irrelevant to what I was doing, and I wasn't in that place at the time, so I was fine. But I nearly lost my job because of it. So I was really angry with that, and I phoned up the paper and I said, how could you do that? How could you make that story, paint me in that kind of way? That's made me nearly lose my job. And they went, we're really sorry, we'll put an apology in the paper. Well, the apologies are always put at the back of the paper in small print, which no one ever reads. So that was that one, and I'm like, oh no, that's really put me off you now. That is disgusting. And then the other one that really did it for me is, there were me and 3 other girls. We were in the parents' centre one day, and we were all single mums, all for different reasons. And the press came and said, we want to do a report on single parents. And I thought, you couldn't have picked 4 better ones here, because we were all doing things in the community, working really hard to make it a better place for our children, for other people. We were really proactive in the community. And of course the press release was something completely different. So what they did is took photographs of us all and put them in the Courier, and then sold us off as 4 saddos who got no grip on life, no moral code, no nothing. Look at these single parents, all on benefits, living in a council estate. And it was put out that we were just losers, and it really upset us all, because at that time we were doing all kinds of stuff like fundraising for the community. We were doing food co-ops, and we were doing all kinds of stuff, and really proactive. And one of the girls on there was in the process of starting her own business, which she ended up running for years after. They didn't put no positive things in the story. It was 4 saddos. Look at them all having babies here and there. They don't even care. I was going through a divorce. My husband had left. Other people's stories were different, but the point is, we all stayed with our children and tried to be good mums. So we thought we were being positive role models, because we loved our children and we wanted them to have a nice life, and we were all there in this place trying to make our worlds better, each other's worlds better, and the people around us. And the press put us out there as 4 scroungers, basically 4 losing scroungers, and that really did upset me, because we were the complete opposite of that. And I thought, how could you do that to someone who's gone all out of their way to put their children before them and do everything for them to give them the best life they can have? We did so much with our children. I mean, we used to go on day trips, and we'd get funding for it, which we made happen by going on these training courses with other professionals. We used to hang around with the police and the counsellors, the teachers, all kinds of people on committees, learning how to get funding, learning how to start ventures up like the food co-ops and stuff like that. We did so much. 6 weeks holidays, we took children on day trips. So there was a selfishness behind it on my part, because I wanted my children to have a nice 6 week holiday, and I couldn't afford to take them on holidays. So by getting the funding meant we could do all that, but the only thing was we had to take other people's children with us, which was fine. So that was the sacrifice that we made, and I had no issue with that. So we'd go on day trips, go to the seaside. We did like baking days in the church, arts and crafts. There was all sorts went on. They never once mentioned any of that in the press release. It was all, oh, look at these women, all claiming benefits. The other thing that they made us do, and I never thought of at the time because we was only young, was when we take the photograph, can you just look quite sullen, sort of thing? So they put us out as victims, and yet one of the girls went on to have a successful like cafe that she ran on her own as a single parent. Never mentioned anything that we did in the community, any of the graft that we did or the sacrificing or nothing. So that's when I thought the press are liars and they're horrible, and the journalists should be ashamed of themselves, because it's all negative, isn't it? With all the things that were going on in that community, that should have all been celebrated, and it should have been put out there. Look at all these people, you know, even though they don't have much themselves, look at them, they still put themselves out there and try the best to better themselves. Over the years, I have done so many things, it's unbelievable, you know. I'll do another video on one of them, because one of them really cheesed me off when I found out the corruption with the council. We'll do that one. But this really angered me with the press, because you can't argue with them. They will sit there with this smile on their face and say, tell me your story. And then they'll change the story and put it in the paper. And then you'll complain and say, you've just lied about me. And then they will apologise and put a little write-up in the back of the paper to say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But no one reads it. So that's how it was all put out. So don't ever trust the press. If you read something, watch something, see a video, look at photographs, most of it's set up. And I've seen it happen so many times over the years, because we've had so many dealings with them. And they don't want the positive. They don't want to show people doing positive things and achieving things and aspiring to be better people. What they want to do is look for the worst in people, in the estates, in the benefit systems and everything, so they can demonise all the people on there. And they do the same things when they do documentaries about poverty. They'll always go and find the families that you do call scroungers. The ones who go, we only get £300 a week and we deserve more, and they're not doing nothing. Most people are not like them. And if you go to the place where I grew up on, most people are not like them. There is an element of that, but they do not represent everybody else. And yet the press, journalism, TV only want the worst kinds of people, so they can demonise, so the rest of the nation can join in and go, aren't they disgusting, look at them all, want benefits, they're all scroungers. And that is not true at all. There's a lot of people who are on benefits who aspire to not be on there, or they're on them temporarily, or they're on them for whatever reason, but they're all personal reasons. And it's wrong to categorise everyone and say, you all belong there, you're all scum. I remember going for a job. I had so many skills, it was off the charts, because I'd done so many years of voluntary work, and this is when I realised that counted for nothing as well. because I went for a job with Leeds University. The lady that sent me for the job was somebody who worked in our community as an outreach worker, and she said, you've got everything they're looking for. You've got the personality, you've got the desire to do it, you've got all the skills that they need. And I remember going in, and there was a panel of women. There was 4 women, and they were all well-to-do, well-spoken, well-educated. That's fine. They were really nice with me, and I was doing well in that interview, and I could feel that it was going well, until one of the ladies looked at my paper and she went, oh, says that you live here in Mixenden. And I went, yeah. Oh. And then they all sort of bristled a bit, and I thought, what's that got to do with anything? And she said, so, oh, hang on, it says you've got children. What about childcare? What about your husband? What would that affect? I said, well, I don't need to worry about childcare because there's a local parents centre and they did free childcare. And the work was school hours, which was perfect. So I said, I don't need to worry about it. And she went, so you don't have an husband? I went, oh, no. I said, I've just got a divorce. So that you could see this woman thinking, and then she went, hang on. So what do you do now for a living, can I ask? And I said, oh, I'm currently doing loads of voluntary work. And I started to tell her, and she said, no, where's your money coming from? And I went, well, I'm on benefits at the moment, but that's what. And she went, oh, right, okay. And that was the end of it. She went, right, okay, yeah, okay, thank you for coming. And I said, is there a problem? And she went, no. I said, I just feel like there's just been a sudden shift in the interview. And she went, single parent, Mixenden, benefits. And I went, yeah. And suddenly I felt humiliated. I felt really embarrassed, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's how people see me. And I was doing a women's build course, learning how to do joinery, painting and decorating, plastering, brickwork, running food co-op, doing all kinds of stuff. And all she wanted to know is, oh, you're on benefits, right, okay. And that was the end of the interview, and I didn't get the job. And I went home and I felt utterly dejected, demoralised, embarrassed. It was a horrible feeling, and I thought, do you know what? People don't celebrate people like me, do they, out there? You don't celebrate us with a decent job and a decent wage. I was there in front of this woman saying, I will do this job, everything you want, and I will do it well. And she basically said, we don't want you because you sign on and you've got children and you're a single parent. And I was absolutely devastated with that. And when I spoke to the outreach worker that we worked with, she said, that is actually disgusting, Kelly. She said, how are you supposed to ever get on your feet and get out in the world if people don't even give you a chance? And it really did upset me, and it knocked me back a lot. And I remember sitting there for a while thinking, what's the point in voluntary work if it doesn't pay? What's the point of it if you don't get nothing from it in the end? I'm going to do another vlog about voluntary work in future, because there was some stories there, absolutely disgraceful. But I forgot, do you know what? You waffle so much that I have actually forgotten what I was actually really supposed to be talking about. The press. Yeah? So anyway, yeah. But I can guarantee, right, in that interview, with all that prejudice that went on in that interview, I can guarantee it's because one of them watched the news or read the paper and had never ever been to the estate, never knew anyone there, but their view of it was all from the television and the media, and that's where the prejudice came from, and that's how damaging the press is. And it's underestimated how much damage they cause people, because they really do decide what the narrative is on a story, and they can decide whether you're bad, good, indifferent. So I'm going to leave it there. My next one I'll try and do an happy one. But I'm going to go, bye bye.